everybody, it's Jim from Jim's Holies and Coleus. How's everybody doing? Going crazy? I'm sure everyone's stuck inside, tired of it. Now we're on the East Coast here in New Jersey, United States, so things are starting to loosen up a little bit, but people are getting the spring and summer fever. I'm by the coast, near primarily a tourist area, and it's kind of tough getting everybody's getting antsy when I get out of the house. But anyway, luckily we have our Coleus to take care of ourselves. If you're new to my channel, thanks a lot. Please subscribe, pass it on to your friends if you want to learn. And it's not too late. You can learn Coleus if you're interested in learning something new, how to pot. Really easy to grow plants, and follow along. I appreciate it. But anyway, as promised, my last video, I said I would teach you guys, give you some ideas on how to pot Coleus. Coleus love to be potted. I got lots of visitors today. We had some really cold. This has been a very cold spring, and I mentioned in most of my videos, each year I learn from my mistakes, and each year I still make some of those mistakes. I get so impatient. I know I've said everybody got to be patient, don't put your plants out too soon. And it's hard to really predict, especially, you know, I have an outdoor greenhouse here, but I made it myself. It's pretty nice, but it's, you know, Coleus, you got to be careful. You don't want to put them out too soon, or put them out. You don't want to put them from being indoors right outside, because they won't last. They need to be hardened. Anyway, it's been very, very chilly. I had a couple of warm nights, no humidity. Today is actually the first really hot humid day, because we just had a pretty heavy thunderstorm for the past right through the morning, so it's really humid. This is beautiful. I'm so excited because my Coleus are going to do so well. They love this because they're tropical plants. They love that hot, humid weather. You know, when you're growing them and you're not in a humid area, they may not thrive as much as, say, I'm in New Jersey. We get those summer really sticky, hot, humid nights. They really thrive. So your Coleus will do really well if you pot them or whatever you plant them, but they'll really start to take off in summer when you start to get that sustained, heavy, hot, humid weather. You get those nights where you get like that rain, that really hot, sticky, humid rain, and it's just, they love that. You'll notice after a week of rain and hot, humid weather, how quickly they just explode. So sometimes you know, these giant, when they get really big, those big pots, you know, you're talking early August, depending on where you are, of course. So anyway, as promised, I'm going to do a video on some pottings, do some, you know, basically what I do. If you're following along, just to give you some ideas on how to do it. It's not that difficult to do. It's very hard to kill your Coleus. You just don't want to overwater it and so forth. You know, look through all my videos. I have tons of videos on how to pretty much do everything. But main thing with potting Coleus, I can't really stress this enough. Don't use garden soil. Don't use soil out of your yard. Use a good quality potting soil, Miracle Grow. Really, anything less, you're not going to get really good results. I mean, I tried it all, and you just don't get. They'll grow, but they're like kind of like sitting there. You give them good quality potting mixture, and your Coleus are going to do real well. So, okay, so let's get to I'll pot a couple of Coleus and give you some ideas on maybe, you know, and just apply it. You know, it doesn't matter what kind of pot. All I can tell you is, whatever pot you do get, make sure it has plenty of drainage holes on the bottom. Drainage is a key with them. You don't want your Coleus roots to stay saturated, because it'll rot, and your Coleus will definitely die. So make sure your pot has lots of holes on the bottom, drainage holes, and apply this across all of them. And your Coleus will do fine. So, all right, so let's go and take a look. Let's get started. Pot a couple of Coleus plants. Okay. Okay. So again, every year, I've been doing this about 8 years. every year the conditions are a little different. I mean, we get spring, we get summer, and so forth, fall. But this year it's been March has been very cold and damp. Had a couple of nights that were in the 60s, and this week we just had a thunderstorm, so it's nice and humid. Really good conditions. It's about 80 in here. I just cooled it down a little bit so I don't kill myself in my video with the video, and we're in the greenhouse here. But anyway, just give you a quick couple of ideas. Here's it's a nice red pot. Again, these are those scalloped pots. I chose a nice red Coleus. Something this size. 2 Coleus is more enough. You can do 1, absolutely, because it'll fill out, but I just want to give it a little different color. So that's one. I'm going to get you onto this one right here. I did some hanging baskets. These are 8-inch hanging baskets. I get them on I got them on eBay. I try to look around to where I can get the most cost effective. These come out to cost me about $1.80 a piece, which, for what I do. So I usually order about 20. So and then generally 8-inch pot, I'll put 3 Coleus, and I get white and green, nothing crazy. Got my Jim's Holies Coleus sticker, and I hang these up in the greenhouse here. And before long, I have 15, 20 of these hanging all over the place, and it gets crowded. It gets really crowded in here in a couple of weeks once I start making up my pots. So let's get this hung up, and real quick, I'll show you a green, one of the greens. Now this is the jitters I was telling you about. If you get a hold of a jitters Coleus, these are great for hanging baskets. You can see already why I choose these. They're wonderful for hanging baskets. They just love to hang down, and these will start to get shoots in different colors. They really change a little bit. So, and again, I got 4 in here because I had a little extra, so I just threw 4 in. Try to change them up. I got a little different colors, some real nice sharp colors. So, and it's green, really white and green. And again, I don't go, they have 12-inch pots and stuff. I like to stay with the 8s, they're a nice size. So basically an idea of what I do here. I fill, again, potting soil, Miracle Grow. Don't do anything, don't sell it short. I mean, if you can't, your Coleus will grow, but I really recommend you get it if you can. Anyway, here we go. This is an idea, yellow. I picked one out. Has more of like a little yellow to it, yellow green. So this is gonna be wonderful. I fill it up. I don't fill it right to the top. Basically, leave some room, and I usually, see, I'm in here. I'll just kind of scoop a little out here, make a mess. What I do, I'll scoop a little out. Now you're wondering, hey, you filled it up. Now you're scooping more out, but I really want to make sure that I don't overfill it or underfill it. So again, this is another reason why I choose these soft pots, because these have been in there for a good 2 months or so. They pop right out for the most part. You might lose a little soil. It's all right. But you can see you got lots of roots here. You're gonna lose a little. And basically, now there's no real mistakes on how you put your Coleus in, but there you go. There's real no mistakes on which way you put it, where you face it, because obviously it's going to change, it's going to move with the sun and so forth. So pack it down. Don't loosen the ball, the root ball. Don't loosen that. Let me adjust this a little bit. Don't loosen the root ball at all. Okay, and then we'll grab some potting mixture and gently fill in around the edge. And what I like to do is pack it down, but not really tight. But I like to make a little moat here. I like to make a, if it shows up really, make a little moat here. You're gonna get a little soil on your leaves and so forth. So we got all that growth coming in. So, but you see that they're a little behind, but really because it's really humid out today. It's really, I'm real happy because they really need this. They've been kind of stagnant the past week and a half or so, since I made that last video. And even I think when I made that last video, it was kind of crummy out. It was just windy. It's been very windy and cold. We had that storm off the coast of New Jersey, but it's been very damp and, I mean, just cold, raw, and just not something that Coleus look forward to. So anyway, so we got that going. All right, and finishing touch. It's not a Jim's Holiest of Coleus until we put a Jim's Holiest of Coleus sticker on it. Now we're ready to go. That tells this Coleus that it's a Jim's Holiest of Coleus, and that's not something to mess with. Okay, so that's just one pot, and again, this is just to give you ideas. You can pot your Coleus in anything, and yes, you could pot them directly. I mean, you could plant them directly in the ground, but I enjoy making the pots, and I make a lot of different pots. Here's another one that's doing real well. If you saw this, this is one of them from last week. And you can see it's really, you don't even tell it. You can't really tell there's a pot under here. And it's really taking off nicely. Got some growth coming in on the bottom. I'm going to trim this, and actually look at that. Let's get a close-up. Now this is what I mentioned to a few people that asked. You're going to get seed stalks growing in. And it's early. Obviously, it's only May. So we don't need seed stalks at this point. So we're just going to pinch that off. We don't need seed stalks. If you let seed stalks develop now, the plant's going to eventually degrade and die, because that signals the plant that it's time to go, and it's going to start declining. So we don't need, so just keep pinching that off. And at this point, I'm going to keep pinching these tops. I'm going to keep pinching these tops off because I don't want it to grow any higher at this point. I want to get that thing to fill in. So keep doing that. Once you get your Coleus at this point, keep pinching that top. Keep pinching the top. Don't let that keep growing in. What that's going to do is going to signal these little guys to grow in. It's like, well, if I can't come out here, let me try down here. And you'll start to get a nice, full, healthy Coleus plant. Here's another idea. I like doing these. These are, again, I get these at a dollar store. These are window box planters, and I generally put three. I had a little extra little fella here, so I threw them in there. But again, it's early. These are really going to start to take off because, again, hot, humid weather. Hopefully, it's going to stay. And I did a few of these the other day, and I generally put 3 Coleus. I generally keep about 3 Coleus per pot. So remember, now we planted these all last week, and they're looking pretty good. Again, I was hoping for a little warmer weather, but it's here. I gotta be I'm patient. I gotta take my own advice and be patient. Here's some more of the, and that's when I keep around my property. That's going to be a wonderful Coleus. Here's a Saturn. These are all the rootings that I had in my house over the, these are from last year. These are rootings that I kept in pots. in glass vases from over the winter and fall, and now I potted them. Here's a black stockings, and they look pretty Charlie Brown tree-ish, but these'll do fine. They'll pop in, and that's going to really take off. It already is inside of a few weeks already. And there's some other pots. And we got a couple other ones. Now this is going to be beautiful too. And again, I try to get, I try to find, I grow a lot of jitters because I know I'm going to make hanging baskets up. Pots, hanging baskets, whatever. I always try to put these, and you can see there's a little difference in color, a little variation in color compared to the other. Here's another one. There's another type of jitters. They really look a little better. This is one I just trimmed down. I had a couple of dead leaves on it, so they don't look like much now, honestly, but every year I go through the same regimen. It's a lot of work. I enjoy it. The trimming really makes a big difference. And I just potted these about 2 days ago. So in another couple of days, these are going to really even be fuller and healthier because of this humidity right now. Here's one of the few 12-inch hanging baskets I have. It's beautiful. Look at the color on those. And when this thing fills out, this is going to be a beautiful hanging basket. It's just going to, that jitters is going to just overflow. You got to be careful. There's a kaleidoscope, or some people call them finger paint. You got to be careful. Sometimes they grow at different rates. I try to trim them. That one needs to be trimmed. But that jitters tends to overtake the other Coleus. So just be careful when you do pot your Coleus to trim. Keep this trimmed away and make sure it doesn't overtake the other Coleus, because it'll just take over the whole thing. So, all right, now I'm going to go out on my deck. I'm going to show you my planters, those concrete planters that I do every year. I'll show you how I go about designing those every year and what I do. Okay, so these are the planters. If you've been following me, these should be familiar to you. I have these two concrete planters I keep on both sides of my deck, and there's a giant Rose of Sharon tree that I planted a few years ago. It provides a little bit of shade once that thing kicks in. Anyway, this is really what I do every year. I try to mix up the colors a little bit. I make sure that I have at least as jitters in there, and just a variety of colors. I always try to keep a Kong, because I love these. Kongs are really my favorite also, and they just really fill out. They do wonderful. Now, the larger your planter, if you're going to put a Coleus in a big planter, you're going to get a nice big full Coleus, but the same principles apply. You want to make sure you trim them up, make sure, get them to really fill out, and these will really start to explode when we get into that sustained hot, humid weather. One thing I notice every single year, especially in the beginning, is get a lot of squirrels. They come in and they generally disturb these. They dig. I'll come by some afternoon or in the morning. I wake up and I'll find one of these dug up and hanging out of the pot. So I'll just have to replant it. Or sometimes they rarely ever make off of them, but they generally always dig up these planters for some reason. But it's something I'm used to. So, But once these things anchor in, they're good for the season. You can see here, I try to find Coleus in my greenhouse that are fairly, you know, healthy. These two were in the same pot, so I just threw them in. And that is a Defiance Coleus. And this will take off really well. Okay, and here's another one I do every year. It's in the corner of my house. Same thing. I just haphazardly, I mean, I gotta just change things up a little bit. This isn't the really healthiest looking, it's a Defiance Coleus, but I'm gonna give it a shot. I just watered these, a little something different, some yellow and green, and I got these two. There's a nice jitters and a Kong. So basically I just dig again. Like these pots, you just pop them out. Worry about if you lose some soil. You see in a nice root structure. Doesn't take long for these roots really take over. And again, there's no right or wrong, but I generally try to put the jitters on the edge. As you can hear my Beauregard joining in. And there you go. So I got 4 in this one here, and this will fill out really nice. Again, I'll come out and maybe a squirrel will go in here digging, looking for nuts or whatever. But I just keep it going. Eventually they'll anchor in pretty well, and then they don't really get, the squirrels don't bother them. So if they do, and I have to replace one, I replace one when I do. So, but this will look really nice, and I'm just going to give them a shot of water. Again, fertilizing, I use the Miracle Grow, the green, water-soluble mix, one of the tablespoons in a 2-gallon container, and I give them a shot of that every month or so, and it makes a big difference. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that video, and I hope it really gave you some ideas on what you want to do maybe with your Coleus. Again, you can pot them in anything you really want, and I like the variety. Window box planters, these fill out so nicely. So you got window box planters, colorful pots, anything you want, really. Anything you want. Lots of hanging baskets. Large planters. Remember, the larger the planter, the larger your Coleus will fill out really well. I mean, will really start to take over. There are, again, those 2 rootings. So at this point, we're just letting the humidity and the heat of summer do its magic. Again, here's just a pointer for those of you who may have insects. This is what I use. It's an insect killing soap. It's a natural seaweed extract. It's very safe, and it's effective. And I don't use it really right now. I wait till the Coleus get a little more mature. I just gently spray it at first sign of insects. Right now I have the greenhouse opened up, the windows open. I'll put the fan on very light just to get some air moving in here. So if you have any questions, as always, feel free to post a comment. I'll get right back to you. If I don't, try it again. I get a lot of comments, and sometimes they don't get on the notification list for some reason. I don't know why. You can always message me on Facebook or Instagram, and I'll get back to you. So meantime, we'll let these keep brewing along. So get yourself some pots. Get out to the dollar store Walmart, whatever, grab a few pots, creative, throw in a few Coleus, and let's have some fun together. So, all right, so stay tuned. We'll shoot another video in a couple of weeks, or when the mood strikes me. All right, thanks a lot. Thanks for following along. Jim's Holiest of Coleus.